The UK is still deep in the midst of its Brexit crisis. This is a never-ending story. The script is constantly changing. Parliament dealt Prime Minister Theresa May yet another blow yesterday. Lawmakers rejected all 4 alternatives to her deal with the European Union. She cannot get a break.
No, she can't.
With most members of May's party voting for none of the options, not even in her own party, Emery.
No, the cabinet is meeting today to try and come up with a solution, and they're going to try and agree on a plan before a potential no-deal exit from the EU in just about 10 days. So Huffington Post correspondent Caroline Modarressy-Tehrani is with us from here in New York. Caroline, let's break this down, because every single day we do an update on Brexit, and it almost feels like you could just dust off yesterday's script and just reread it, change a couple words here and there, because it seems there was a vote, no one liked it, we start again. So listen, Caroline, nothing seems to be working at all. And lawmakers are rejecting basically pretty much every plan of option. What are the latest developments in the process, and why didn't any of the 4 alternatives, why were none of them attractive enough to gain a majority?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. Well, so, I mean, you know, like you say, it's almost like Groundhog Day again in this never-ending saga of Brexit. Essentially, Theresa May actually won a little bit of a mini reprieve last night, because what happened yesterday was that Parliament were putting forward 4 different potential options. Their potential solutions to actually get the UK out of this Brexit mire. And Parliament had been saying for weeks that, you know, if they had the reins in all of this, that they would be able to steer the UK out of this mess. And as you said, not a single one of the 4 potential options on the table actually got enough votes to go through. Now, a lot of that is because of political infighting. A lot of people who were actually on board with the Tories and Labour, there was no real kind of consensus. People were not willing essentially to kind of swallow their pride and potentially break the sort of political gridlock that has been dominating much of British politics for the last 3 years. A couple got close, as you mentioned. I think that there was one about the customs union with the EU, and another that would say that any specific piece of legislation that actually passed would actually have to be put to the British people for a vote. But as you mentioned, none of them got enough to actually see it through. So today, the British cabinet has been meeting for this mammoth-long, several hours-long meeting to try and actually get around this political impasse. But looming in the distance is this April 12th deadline. Now, if April 12th comes and nothing has been resolved, there could be the possibility of a no-deal Brexit, which, if you listen to Michel Barnier from the EU today, is sort of almost political suicide for the UK. Or Theresa May has to go to the EU, cap in hand, and ask for an extension. Now, this is something she's been very resistant of doing, and it's unlikely, though, that there'll be another realistic option if neither of these 2 comes to pass. I mean, you know, there have been resignations left, right, and centre. This is serious, serious trouble for the UK at the moment.
Caroline, if you had to explain to us Yanks what the one major sticking point is and why it seems that Prime Minister Theresa May cannot seem to identify that and include it in whatever deal she wants to present to Parliament to get it over the hump, what is the one thing that the MPs are saying that they don't want?
Oh, gosh. I mean, Vlad, if it were only that simple, if I could give you just one thing. I mean, the thing that people really do keep coming back to is this problem of the backstop. You've probably heard about this a 1,000 different times. But this is essentially, you know, Northern Ireland and Ireland had a decades-long conflict around their border. And essentially what happened with Theresa May's deal is that she put forward a series of sort of packages and different kind of proposals around the EU and the UK and its relation to the EU's custom unions, for example, but has punted this issue of what to do about this sticking point, this land border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. And really, when you're looking at the major roadblocks to any kind of deal and to a lot of MPs who are so close, you know, really close to wavering and actually backing Theresa May and her deal, which may be put again to another vote. This will be the 4th vote tomorrow if the Speaker of the House actually allows it to proceed. But really, it comes back to this question of what to do about Northern Ireland and Ireland. And for a lot of MPs, this is just something that is just no one has been able to offer a kind of concrete solution. And as a result, even when the Prime Minister offered her resignation for people to actually just accept her deal, there was, great reluctance, as we've seen, and it's unlikely that if he actually goes to a fourth vote tomorrow, that those MPs will have had their fears allayed enough to be able to vote with the Prime Minister.
So we know Prime Minister Theresa May is on the hot seat through this whole thing, and her political future is up in the air. It doesn't look very good for her. I'm curious not only how the public feels about the job that she's doing, but I think about if this was happening here, how angry people would be at Congress. And I'm wondering, what do they make of Parliament? Are they frustrated as well with their representatives and what's not getting done?
Absolutely. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. There has been, the consensus, I was just in London, I was there for the last 2 weeks, and really I can put it down to two words: fed up. People are absolutely fed up with what they see as sort of catfighting between multiple political parties. Last night we saw another member of Parliament resign from the Tory party over what he saw as political gridlock. And, for the general public, these are theatrics, because when it comes back down to it, and what is often lost in the sort of political theatre and drama of all of this, is that this is a serious, serious decision. The British public voted, this is now 2016, they voted to exit the EU. I would argue that the vote that was sort of put before them, it was very, very simplistic. There was not really any kind of understanding nor roadmap before that vote was put to the British people about what it would look like, what that would mean. And you're already seeing the pinch in the economy. You have huge car manufacturers, Japanese car manufacturers like Nissan, for example, like Honda, who all have now sort of rolled back plans, scaled back their plans to actually increase manufacturing in the UK. This is very alarming for people whose livelihoods are dependent on the UK and its ability to trade with EU countries. The more and more this process drags on, the more and more the political uncertainty rolls on, the more you see the British economy faltering, the more and more this is going to start affecting people's, not just psychologically, but their bottom line in their pocketbooks. And really, that's not a situation that I don't think any member of Parliament really wants to see go on for much longer. The question is, can anybody propose enough of a tantalizing solution that people will be able to hold their noses and just go with it? And I just don't know at the moment. It's anyone's guess.
Yes. Hold their noses, because chances are there's never going to be a solution that makes everyone happy.
Everybody happy. Yeah. Exactly right. Caroline Modarressy-Tehrani, as always, so good to see you. We'll probably be talking again to you tomorrow, depending on what the Speaker of the House decides to do. Thank you very much.